Hello and welcome to a showcase video for a game called Attack on Riley. It is a solitary war game that I've been working on these past few days. What you see here is a tabletop simulator mod already finished, and these are all the components you need for this game. There are around 130 counters. There is a mounted map. You will need some wooden cubes, probably not in the amount that I have used because in the mod I can make it more fancy. And one chart with tables, which is double-sided, which can help you out during playthrough. Oops. I also need to add a rule book to this mod, but it's a work in progress, so there might be some rules that's gonna change. In this video, what I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk a bit about the game and what's going on here, and I'm going to show you components and the map, and I'm going to talk about all the features the game has. So let's start with the main story, which is basically like this. The setting is during 1918, so it is basically finishing year of the Great War. It's World War I. And a group of investigators managed to uncover that all this time that human nations were waging this war is actually were just puppeteered by the cult of Cthulhu. There was this island that risen from a deep, and it was obscured by magic and fog, so invisible to normal eyes. And they actually wanted to keep the humans fighting each other until they get enough strength to wake up Cthulhu. Once the nations found out about that, they form an expeditionary force. The time is very short before Cthulhu awakens, so they have to be really quick, basically make a D-Day landing like in World War II on this island, and try to push through all the way to the necropolis where the Cthulhu is sleeping, and use a special relic called Scepter of Hypnos to keep him asleep. So in this game you're gonna control the forces of human nations. We have 6 of them. They are shown here with these little counters. We have French, German, Ottoman, Russian, British, and American forces. They all have standard like armies and some special units like let's say armored vehicles or tanks or artillery or machine guns. Some even have a cavalry. Remember, this is 1918, so there is no like some kind of a super weapons yet. Besides that, we also have 6 ships that are basically form a perimeter around the island and keeping all the other cult members to converge on the island and help that those that are already on the island, and also keeping our convoys with supplies safe, and providing some naval batteries, shooting at the island itself and give us some bonuses for our troops, destroying enemies. Then we here have the map that is representing this island of Rylech. Map is split into these little zones, which I called areas. Each area has a name. It's not that important, but we can form a kind of narrative, although there are some effect that tells you something happens on the part of the island. What we have on the map is basically a terrain modifiers, and also it's gonna tell you when you need to place different kind of enemies. There are 3 types of enemies in this game. There are cultists, there are deep ones, and there are spawns of Cthulhu. These are like really big monsters. And as you're getting deeper into the island, you are facing more and more heavy and stronger enemies. island is actually split in two. This little part here is connected with these bridges, which have their own special rules. What else? Also, there are some special objectives on the islands which you probably wanna try to destroy or capture, because they are giving the enemy some bonuses. Like for instance, here we have some fort gun crews and batteries that can shoot at our ships, and they also provide bonuses to all adjacent areas on the island, to other forces, other enemy forces. So basically they can shoot your forces and they can shoot your ships. Then there's the airfield here, which if you manage to capture, you're gonna be able to land your aircrafts and get some air support. Then there are two portals here and here, which cultists use to bring some really scary monsters that gonna help them against your forces. So you want to go there and also try to close those portals. And there is a pylon of negation, which basically keeps the elder things, which are enemies of Cthulhu. So if you manage to capture that and have some relics, you can actually call the elder things to help you up in this fight, and they are really good fighters. They are much better than your regular forces. So there is lots of things going on here on the map itself. There are all 4 nations here represented with colors, and every nation, their troops have a morale and a sanity track. If you have a high morale, you have some bonuses in fights. If you lose all your sanity, if all your troops lose your sanity and they also get into retreat, they are, instead of retreating, they are destroyed, because they're going to be disbanded. They're going to fall into madness and you're going to lose troops. So you need to watch out for your sanity and morale, which is going to be going down as you fight these monsters, as humans are basically for the first time fighting something unexplainable and out of their league. Remember, these are just regular troops. They are not accustomed to fight monsters or some things that they didn't even manage it exists. There are also here on the board, we have a sequence of play. There are 6 phases for every turn. Expedition phase, where we're going to activate one of the events on the turn if it has any. Event phase, where you're going to roll, there is a chart for the events, you're going to roll 2d6 here, and depending what you roll, they're going to be the event. There is a supply and support phase, during which you're going to roll some dice to get the supplies, as long you have these ships alive, because these ships can actually be destroyed. Let me show you. So this is a destroy ship, this is a damage ship. Once it is destroyed, it is removed, so some ships can take 1 or 2 hits. As long as you have ships here to keep the perimeter around the island, you will get steady supplies. You will roll 3d6, and that's how many units you're gonna get back from exhaustion. I can show you actually the units on the other side. When you flip them, they are exhausted. Basically, normal unit has attack and defense values, but exhausted unit only has defense value, and you actually have to spend a supply to flip it back. So basically you have to resupply them, and during the supply and support phase, this is when you're going to roll some dice to see how many units you're going to be able to resupply and turn them back to their full power. Also during support phase, you will get some support from a ship, or maybe if you manage to get some airplanes, you're going to get air support. And there is also a possibility that if you capture these batteries here, they will provide support further into the land. You can use them to shoot down on the enemy forces, but we're going to see about that. For now, there is a possible rule about that. Then there is a combat phase, where each unit's going to move and you can move only one area per turn. All units have the same speed because it's really tough to move through this island. It's basically all kind of Euclidean, buildings and marshes, and the ground is sticky and not easy to move, so they only can move one area a turn. If you move into the area where there is enemies, and enemies all face down, so you don't know what you're gonna meet, then you have go to the combat. You have a combat phase. Then depending on how the combat went, there could be some counter attacks. So there is a counter attack phase from the enemies, and then there is the end phase where you're gonna clean up some stuff, do everything you need to do on the end of the turn. All right, so there are 13 turns. The first 2 turns are really important. On the first turn, you don't land yet. Basically, sorry, your ships are providing some bombardment. So on the first turn, you're gonna probably try to clear as many enemies on the beaches. Then you have to land on the beach successfully. In this process, you may actually lose some units. On the turn 3 comes these little vehicles with the scepter of Hypnos scepter. This a little truck with investigators, and they have this scepter inside. You will need to decide on which beach that you manage to clear to land that vehicle, because that vehicle is really vulnerable, and if you suffer counter attack and you manage to repel it, that vehicle is immediately destroyed. Or if you go into the fight and lose a fight, that vehicle also destroyed. So you probably want to keep it behind and move it very, very slowly toward one of these 4 spaces. So this is where you can actually use this vehicle with the scepter, either in Necropolis, on Old City, on the gate, or in the Great Pyramid. That is one of the victory conditions that you need to meet on the end of the turn 13. So if you manage to clear one of these spaces and have the vehicle there, that ritual they need to perform, investigators going to do that automatically, and then you win the game. Also, that's not the only thing you need to do. You need to clear as much as possible. You need to get hold of the island, and for now it is basically half of these areas, but I'm gonna try to see is it possible to actually capture all of them. So get the full hold of these normal areas, and maybe some of these, one of these black areas where the toughest monsters are. On turn 4, Americans gonna come. They're kind of late. They were the last nation that they managed to scramble forces. So from landing and from basically turn 2 and 3, you're only going to be able to use these forces here. So French, German, Ottoman, Russian, and United Kingdom. Americans going to get like reinforcements on turn 4, and then from then on it's just a fight through the island. You can choose to land your forces on these beaches that are put like Butter Beach, Apples Beach, Charlie Beach, Duff, and Edward Beach, and you can see these numbers. You're gonna place your forces on the numbers. Different nations must be placed on these numbers. You can mix your forces, but there is a rule of stacking. You cannot have more than 6 of these counters in one area. There is no rule for stacking enemy forces. They actually can be more than 6 for the enemies. So you're only counting your forces. And if you see these little red and blue, like red dots and blue boxes, this is where you can actually apply naval support from these ships if they stay healthy and not destroyed. So as you can see, there is a lots of space you can cover almost deep into the island with those ships. But as I said previously, if you capture these batteries, you can even get some more additional support. from them. What else we have? Let's see. These are some tokens you use once you destroy these batteries or capture them. We have these tokens for that. We have some tokens for supplies that you can actually gather during a combat. So when you destroy some enemy units, you might get some supplies which you can bank and use during your supply phase later on. These are enemy units. I guess I can show you how they look like. So there are cultists. Here it is. These are the starting cultists. They are basically the forces that are on the beaches. They do not have a fixed value. They're actually a kind of mishmash group. They scramble just to try to hold you back because we managed to get a surprise on the cultists. So it's going to be D6. We don't know their strength. Then there are these cultists which are much better equipped. The strengths go from 6 to 7. Then we have these deep ones. Their strength goes from 8 to 9. And there are these monsters, of course. Their strength goes from 10 to 12. They are the worst kind. And these are the other things which you can actually manage to bring into the fight. They are pretty good units. And these counterattack tokens, I can show them also. Sometimes the enemies will counterattack if you don't manage to clear them all. And this is the strength of those counterattacks, varying from D6, so you don't know how much hard you're going to be hit, to 7. Also, we have things from the portal. I can show you those. Things from a portal that can come out from one of these two portals and attack your forces, depending on some events. We have air support if you manage to capture that, how it's called, airfield, but that's only support for the British, French and German forces. They managed to scramble their air, so if you lose these forces, like if they completely destroy, you will not be able to use their support. That's why we have these little flags here, so you need to watch out for that. What else I need to show? Oh yeah, there are also some relics and artifacts which you can get while destroying the enemy units. If you see here, some units have a little like asterisk behind the number. So if you destroy this unit, you will get one random relic. We have here this event chart and combat resolution chart. And on the back there is a relic and artifacts, what they do. Things from a portal, what they do, and special map location. So far, this is how it works. And if you want, I can show you some of these. So for instance, things from the portal. Let's say spawn of Cthulhu, all ships take 1 hit. So this is a one-time events. Basically, these will be randomly put here, and then you just pick one randomly and uncover it. You flip what it is and resolve these things from the portal. For the relics and artifacts, we have 6 of them: Elder Sign, Thunderstone, Necronomicon, Shining Trapezohedron, Star of the Elder Things, and Book of Avon. So as you can see, each of them can be only used once per game, but they have really powerful effects that you can also use onto the enemies. Here are combat chart resolutions and events. For the events, you roll 2d6 and just see there are some good events, some bad events, but most of them are bad. For the combat resolution, basically you gather all the strength and all the bonuses for the support against the enemy. Everybody roll 1d6. You add your strengths and see if you have a higher strength, you won the combat, in which case you're gonna roll additional die to see how it went if you win, or how it went if you lost against different forces. So you can see here it's different charts for these cultists, yellow and green, and different chart for these deep ones and the monsters. They are split into 2. So for instance, if I lose a fight against the monsters and I roll, let's say, a 3, it says I lose 1 morale. I retreat and I lose a unit. While let's say I won and I roll a 3 against monster, it says enemy destroy and I get 2 supply. If you have a stalemate, basically no one won, then there will be a counter attack. And usually this is how counter attack happens during the stalemate. Or if you won or lost, but have really not like minor victory or minor loss. So there will also be counter attacks. So I think I show you everything about the game. In next video we're gonna play a few turns so you can see how everything works. And then I need to finalize my rule book and see is there something that's not working correctly. We're gonna see about that. I'm not so sure about the game time. I would say an hour or more, probably more. We'll have to see that, but really it depends where you get your forces and what's your plan here. Because at the beginning you're forming your plan, like where do you want to push the most? Are you going to be in the center, go to the center, or are you going to go, or you're going to force one of these how it's called, parts of the island, either the top or the bottom part. In any case, you are kind of limited because you have to put different nations on the different beaches. So eventually you will converge in the middle, well, depending how other nations do as they moving forward. And also you need to keep this little track not destroyed, because if that's destroyed you immediately lose the game. You also immediately lose the game if all your troops have 0 sanity. They don't have to be destroyed, but if they all lose the sanity, it's the game over. They can still be with the lower morale, but without sanity they're just going to be completely scared and they will not advance further anymore. There are also some dice you need, and that's all. Basically counters, a map, some cubes, some dice, and I would say not a large amount of components, but it's a medium-sized war game. So if you're gonna try to craft this as a print up and play, you probably have to, invest a bit money in it. In any case, that's it for this showcase video. In the next video I'm gonna do a game setup, and then we're gonna go through some turns and we'll see much more about it. Thanks for watching and see you next time in the next video. Goodbye.